Hello, beautiful women. Lucy Shahjahan with you. Very excited to dive into tonight's topic, which is all around rejection. One of, I'd say, the top topics that I experience in this space of love and relationships. So I'm just going to wait a few more seconds in Aussie for some more people to join us. So, hey, Erin, how are you, beautiful one? Very, very excited. Got the husband cooking away some spaghetti bolognese in the background, which is where he should be, you know. Put all men in the kitchen. Why not? He might come on and say hello. He's actually from Bangladesh, so I was like, sweetie, I have to like brief him before every meal. I'm like, okay, this is spaghetti bolognese. Please do not go putting your Indian spices into spaghetti bolognese. Bengali spices, sorry, not Indian spices. All right, so we'll get started in just a few. Hello to who else has joined us. I can't see you, but welcome. I'm actually not in Manhattan. I'm in the country at the moment, in this beautiful house upstate in Woodstock in New York. And oh my God, I'm surrounded by trees and my soul is just like, yes, out of the concrete jungle. So happy to have nature. Huh? Oh yeah, well, no, it's not exactly news. Yeah. Well, there was a big helicopter crash in Manhattan today that landed on top of a building, so it was chaotic. So it's good to be here in the woods. All right, well, I'm going to dive in and get into this topic, which is just so relevant. So thank you so much, Sasha. I don't know if, Sasha, you're joining us tonight, but thank you so much. You can catch the replay. But she emailed saying, you know, I'm so terrified of rejection, Lucy, that I can't even dream about my soulmate. How on earth do I get past this? I'm just going to begin with, you know, myself. Yes, now I'm married to the love of my life, but, you know, my little girl within experienced deep trauma from huge loss, you know, losing my father when I was a little girl. So I had major fear of abandonment and fear of rejection running solidly through my life until I was in my early 30s. It's a real thing, right? I was more committed to actually having the protection and keeping my heart safe than actually letting love in. But the irony is I wanted that big, beautiful relationship with my soulmate for so long, yet I was not in alignment with receiving that because I was just so, I guess at a subconscious level, terrified of, you know, what happens if I open my heart again. I couldn't possibly bear to go through that pain of losing someone that I love so much. And that was what was running underneath. So feel into, you know, to your own self right now in, you know, we generally know why we're scared of, you know, abandonment and rejection. Okay. So right now, just clock that for yourself. But what I want to dive into is that this fear of rejection, it actually starts with us rejecting ourselves. We're often afraid of someone else rejecting us, but at a heart level, we're rejecting who we really are. So many women that I work with, they come to me and they're terrified of being who they really are in case that's rejected. You know, it sounds kind of ironic, but because of this huge fear of, you know, what if I'm too big a personality? What if I'm too sensitive? What if I'm too emotional? What if I'm too spiritual? I'd better just play, you know, and be a much smaller version of myself so that I don't get rejected. But that's where the big issue is, because when we're not being all of who we are rejecting our light, we're rejecting our soul. So of course we are leaving ourselves at the door. So it's just an interesting topic that, of course, when you hear, you know, the fear of rejection, it's about, you know, fearing that others won't accept us, but the person that is rejecting us the most is ourselves. So I want you to really take that in. The reason we reject ourselves is that we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust that we're enough. We don't trust that we're going to be accepted. We're terrified of judgment. Can you relate? So we just put a big fat lid on and we just want to be what we think people want us to be. And that's when we get into, you know, being overly accommodating, people pleasing, over-giving, all of that stuff, you know, overstepping our own boundaries, which never works out. So underneath this rejection of self, is that we're just not feeling worthy at all, and we haven't accepted our brilliance. We haven't said yes to the bigness of who we are. There is no self-worth present. There's a superficial idea of like, wow, I know I'm a good chick. I know I've got a lot to offer, but it's very top line. It's not integrated where you're actually walking around in that beautiful deservability. So this rejection has got two parts to it. It's rejection, being terrified of someone rejecting us, and being abandoned and being left behind, because our worldview is that relationships aren't safe. Relationships don't last. Men always leave. And either that's happened because maybe you had parents that divorced, maybe you had a parent that died, maybe you had both parents and you had neither of those, but they weren't emotionally present. They weren't giving you and your little girl what she really needed to feel safe and to feel supported and seen. So much of this conversation stems from, the amount of women, I'd say it's about 97% that come to me, do not feel seen. They don't feel like they've ever been the priority. And often if you're the eldest child, you had to take on the responsibility, as to help mum, with the other siblings. So there's a whole, list of, characteristics, hey Judy, that really make up why we have such a deep-seated fear of rejection. But it does go back to childhood. And then as you start to grow up, we start to recreate that, because actually there's a payoff for us. We're used to feeling rejected and we actually crave that in a very bizarre way. And that's because we never felt supported. So we try and recreate that paradigm because we know how to show up within that not enoughness. So then what happens is we're in the world living in fear, living in disbelief, projecting from the past into the future, saying to the universe, I really want to meet my soulmate. I'm an amazing woman. I'm doing all this work. But the deep down vibrational undercurrent is, I don't believe for a fucking second that I can have this. And that's what the universe is responding to. And so the consequence right now, if you're feeling this and you're really vibrating with this and knowing that this is the truth, and you want to be honest with yourself, right? I'm just holding this space because this is literally what I get asked about pretty much every phone call. But what's really at stake right now is you're missing out on tons of men that are right for you. It's almost like you're out in the world wearing glasses that have got like a black screen across them and you cannot see a guy that's actually right for you when he's in front of you. It feels like that, right? It's like you've just got such a firm belief that this doesn't exist for you. And because you're holding back, because you don't have this rock solid belief that you can have love, you're not showing up fully. So basically you are blocking this soulmate relationship from coming in, but it's not because there aren't men that are going to show up for you. It's not because there aren't amazing men right now that would love to be with you, because there are. And that's about having a very, very strong belief and a declaration that, you know what, there is a sea of eligible, amazing men that want to date you. Because the truth is, and hear me when I say this, they do exist and they do want to date you. And because you, beautiful woman, exist, he exists right now. He has a heartbeat. He is walking around and living on this planet. And that's what I always used to take comfort in when I was single and really wanting to attract in my soulmate. I was like, well, I exist and I'm an amazing woman and I've got this big personality, and there's going to be a man that loves that, who's not going to try and clip my wings, who loves me for who I am. And I when I really came home to who I was and I got out of this pattern of being so scared of rejection for literally 30 years, I kid you not, it was so deeply conditioned. When I broke up with that and got out of those shitty neural pathways, shitty belief systems, shitty mindset that was not congruent with what I wanted, that is when my life significantly changed. So some of the feelings that you may be experiencing right now is this deep-seated fear that's just on replay, this huge, overwhelming fear that it's never going to happen for you. And then you start to stack on that and go, well, maybe I'm just not meant to be in love. Maybe I'm just meant to be, a really good auntie, and maybe I'm not meant to have children. And, what's the point anyway? I've put myself out there. Love never works. Because of this huge fear of loss. It's like you've talked yourself into the plan B. So you've got to get really honest with yourself and go, am I consciously creating the future that I want, or have I sold out into being complacent for a future that I'll be settling for? This is the conversation you need to ask yourself, because right now it's your little girl who is running the show. And there is no shortcut, there is no silver bullet, and it's really irrelevant what work you've done until now. I hate to say it. It's not that it hasn't been helpful. It's not that you're not a freaking warrior for getting support and trying to have a red hot go at this. But the biggest measure you can look at is, are you thriving in your life right now? Are you lit up from the inside out? Do you absolutely love and accept yourself at a cellular level where you feel full from the inside? Or if you're really honest, are you feeling like you're not where you're meant to be right now? You don't quite know how you're even in this place. You're just like, what the actual fuck, universe? It's not like I'm not doing everything. I'm trying my hardest. And you've got to realize that it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's not because you're freaking outstanding. I just want to say that right now. But your little girl, until you deal with her properly and heal her beliefs, and take her and learn how to actually heal her at a heart level, that's when you can then start to activate your inner queen. That's when you can activate that woman and that divine feminine who is magnetic, who does feel worthy, who's not caught up with this fear of rejection because she's too busy focusing and calling in what she actually wants, right? Because we get where we put our focus. We get what we focus on. Every single time. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you expect. And too many of you are not expecting love to work out. And you've got all the stories to go with it. Men suck, men are assholes, we don't trust them. You've got all these list of reasons longer than fucking Lord of the Rings, right? And the sequel. But how's that working out for you really? Like, how much longer are you willing to keep rehashing that broken record? When are you going to fully commit and just be like, fuck it, it's up to me. Like, I do not want to get to the end of 2019 and be in the same place with my same excuses and my same bullshit reasons. Like, really, for real. Because here's the thing. Here's the nugget of gold. Your little girl inside that was wounded and abandoned and felt rejected does not want a soulmate relationship. That is the last thing she wants. She is committed to keeping your heart safe. She has employed about 10 bodyguards. And there's no freaking way anyone's getting in. And on top of that, you're wearing love armor from head to toe. So this is why the little girl, this beautiful little girl that's inside of you, who's also got amazing qualities, right? But she's the one, for many of you, that you're overriding, and you're looking at your current relationships right now. And it's like, well, no, she's fine. She's fine. She's not. Take it from me. My 8-year-old was running my relationships up until 31, when I finally woke up, having done a heck of a lot of work and invested a heck of a lot of money. Hey, gorgeous Charlotte. Hey, Paula. Hey, Judy again. And I just went, what the actual fuck? Like, something actually has to change now, because as I was getting closer to 40, I met my husband at 36. I went, all right, I'll do whatever it takes. And that's the only place that real change is going to come from, when you're that committed and that determined, where you're like, I'm not going to stop until I get it. Because you've got to imagine it's like a little girl in the woods, as if she's going to go looking for bears. I mean, she's terrified to see a big bad bear. You know what I mean? She might be out there looking at the pretty flowers, but as soon as she sees a big bear, she's going to run. Well, I hope my little girl runs from a big bear, but you know what I'm saying? And this is the same if we keep it really simple with relationships. Your little girl within might be going out on dates with you, but she's not showing up. She's not allowing you to be who you really are. She's allowing you to bring in just the very top line version of yourself, to the point where you may as well call yourself another name. And then the date's over, and then that's just another failed date or fling that didn't work out. And it's so deeply unfulfilling and so fucking frustrating, isn't it? I felt like I was hitting my head against a brick wall. It was just so infuriating. And then to top it off, I was just like numbing out by going out on weekends and just drinking more champagne. And then I got to a point where I was just like, okay, shit, this is getting really, really urgent, because I wanted to have children. And that's when I really stepped the fuck up and went, okay, got it. I've got to hit this rejection on the head once and for all. So can you see that for as long as you're committed to fearing this rejection and keeping yourself small and hiding behind all the reasons why love is actually not going to work out for you, that you're keeping your heart closed. And there is 0 point in going on one more date for as long as you're living out of this context, for as long as your worldview is that love and relationships don't work and it's not safe. So what's the point anyway, right? It's going to come down to you being more committed to living with an open heart, doing the extra work, whatever it's going to take to crack open your belief systems, your heart, up level your mindset, so that you start to actually shift into the highest identity of who you really are, which is your queen self. And that's what I help my women with that are changing their lives as we speak, right? They're like, okay, well, I'm aware that my little girl's running the show and I'm aware I need to step into my queen. I go, great, but the awareness isn't going to do anything. It's a very deep process. Because so many of the programs out there, of the women that come to me, trust me, they've been burnt. And they're like, how do I freaking know that you're going to be able to help me, Lucy? I am so sick and tired of hearing all this stuff. Hey, gorgeous Taya, how do I know this is going to work? I said, because you're going to be co-creating. You're going to be generating this. This is not I teach, you learn. This is not cerebral. This is not intellectual. I tracked in so many bright women. I said, the last thing you need right now is information. This is not that. This is experiential. This is you actually really taking up space and getting deep down and knowing your heart inside out and coming home to who you really are. And when you turn up your light and when you commit to opening your heart and living courageously and boldly, do you really think your life isn't going to change? It has to. That's what the universe wants us to do. The universe, God, creator, Allah, whatever you refer to, higher source, even if you're an atheist, you know there's something bigger. That's what you need to start walking with and breathing in and allowing, because so many of you are trying to approach love from your head and it's never, ever, ever going to work, especially when you are aligned with the fear of it not working out, the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment. So my question to you is, how much longer are you willing for this to go on? Like truly, how much longer can you actually wake up with the anxiety, being kept awake at night, going to events on your own, knowing that Christmas is going to rock around in 6 months and it's going to feel like another Bridget Jones event? Like truly, these are the questions that you need to ask yourself. How much longer am I willing to continue like this? Because you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. And I know that's a really obvious statement, but I'm still surprised at how many people are complaining, but they're not taking the action, because the support is always here. Yeah. And there is always a way for the committed. But you cannot keep doing the same thing and just using your excuses to play it safe and then be like, well, it's just not happening for me. No shit. Oh, no. Okay, and come over here. So I want to also ask you, where else is this showing up for you? How else is this showing up in the workplace where you're not getting that promotion or you're not in the right line of work? Like friendships where you could be having deeper connections. Where else is this showing up for you right now? Are you noticing that you're holding back more? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. Because until you deal with this little girl who's running your life, you're going to continue to be let down. Yes, darling.
Hello.
He was in the kitchen cooking my dinner, but he felt so compelled to come and talk.
Yeah, it's a beautiful conversation, and I just want to add that the adage that a boiling frog doesn't know that it's boiling. A boiling, well,
haven't heard that one, but I'll let you run with that.
A frog in water. When you put a frog in a pot with water and you turn up the temperature and you start boiling the water, the frog doesn't realize that it's actually boiling to death. Now, what's the adage? There is an adage here.
I haven't heard that one, but I'm letting you take the floor. You had something to say.
What rejection is the frog boiling. And the thing, what this really means is that you don't realize, you don't know what you don't know. You don't understand when you're deep in it, you don't realize your environment.
You're talking about blind spots.
Your blind spots, exactly. And the thing is, rejection, Lucy talked about your mother, father, but it goes even beyond that. Your first date, you're interested in a boy when you were a little kid and felt the first tinge of rejection. And you start coloring your
hey, gorgeous Kasha.
You start coloring what's in front of you with those lenses. Oh, if I did this the last time and I got hurt, I got rejected, so this time I won't even do it. And then you start stacking beliefs after beliefs after beliefs from the age of whenever you.
Very little, but protection,
yeah.
layer after layer after layer after
Right.
layer of protection. So it's not about, I love this, darling.
So
It's not about self-loathing and beating yourself up for having this protection. You've got to understand it and have deep reverence and compassion and go, wow, it's not like I say to these women that I work with, it's not like you've been hiding yourself from love for no reason. There's a freaking reason here. But this is not serving you.
Yeah.
Are you ready to change that?
Now, protection is there to serve you till a certain point when you can start actually thinking for yourself and going, oh, wait, you know what? I acted a certain way, and then coming up with the reasons why, and you can change it. However, when you do something from the age of maybe 2 years old and you don't remember it, and you don't remember why you have stacked your beliefs in this certain way, you just know that I'm just scared of rejection, and I'm like 40 years old or 35 years old or 29 years old. I'm scared of rejection. And
it always happens to me.
What's funny is every time I go out, I get rejected.
Yep.
Or every time, so the thing is, yeah, you don't have to pinpoint when all this started, but it's very important for you to know that you are that frog at this point where you're boiling away and you don't realize that the water is boiling because you were in it from the beginning. And this is what blind spots are. And in our martial arts crew, it's called the frozen lake. Meaning that when you go out, when you see a frozen lake and you go out to the very middle of it, and every time you the further you go and you can't see land, but you're in the frozen lake and you don't know where else to go. But the next step you take, it starts cracking, and then crack, and you're in deep shit. So
your life's on the line. But that's actually the same. It's a great parallel.
So when you can't see your blind spots, if you want to call it that, if you can't see that you are the frog in the boiling water, you can't get out.
You can't fix it.
So you can't read a book. You can't watch a video. You can't do what your intellectual brain wants you to do and say, hey, pick this up. Go. Read a book on relationships, or go to a matchmaker, or change the way you look,
or change your profile.
Because what's happening is the sabotaging behaviors were conditioned from the age of 2, and it was just layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. So unless you know somebody who can actually experientially show you, guide you, and what that means is not up here and it's not even here. It's a showing so that you can know. It's a knowing. Experiential learning is knowing. Or feeling. And
right?
It isn't here. It's a vibration. You actually witness, experience, and learn at the same time. That's experiential learning. It happens at the same time.
But that's why it's so powerful, because so often it's like, will you help me? Will you show me how to date? I go, no, I will not show you how to date. I'm not going to show you. There's no formula on how to date. But I will definitely guide you to show you who you really are.
Right.
And to dial up your vibration, your magnificence, your life force. Because so many of you might just be looking at it like, well, this is the only part of my life that's not working right now. And that's not true.
That's not true.
You are rejecting yourself. You are not feeling lit. You are not feeling fulfilled. You have got, you're tough on yourself. You have high expectations. And the big traps are when we start telling ourselves, well, this is just the way that it is. Or London's just a hard place to date. Try living in New York, right? I met this guy in Manhattan, and that was all my friends at the time when I was, no, seriously, we're all single at the time. Yeah. And I had to stop going to brunch with them because I knew that for as long as I was engaging in this low vibrational bullshit, that I was never going to attract in the caliber of relationship that I wanted.
Yeah, and it's important for you to know that none of it is your fault. Okay, where it's not your fault, but you do have to take now you have to take it by the horns.
Take responsibility and ownership.
And own it. Because when you were growing up, I didn't know, and Lucy didn't know what was good and bad and all these things. We were taught it. And so what happens is you get taught your parents' stuff too. And if they have fear of rejection in them somehow, or if something's happened to them in their family, that gets taught to you. So it is not your fault, but now you have to choose it. You have to say, you know what?
It's really, darling, it's really irrelevant. We're going off track. It's not about whose fault it is. No, it's about if you're not getting what you want when it comes to relationships, you have to take responsibility.
You have to take responsibility.
You can't live in blame. You can't live in victimhood.
Right.
It's never going to serve you. So it's really going to come down to, you're either going to give up, you're going to sell out, and you're going to hide behind your excuses, or I've done all the work, which is bullshit, because none of us have done all the work. I certainly haven't done all the work. I'm constantly a work in progress. And it's getting the right support, getting taken through a process where you're deeply held and supported as you rise up into this beautiful new identity of a woman who is going to attract her soulmate. But the goal here, what I really teach, isn't about attracting a soulmate. He comes in when you come home to aligning with who you really are. The conversation really is about getting out of rejection so that you can dream again and create your life on purpose. And that comes from being aligned with your gorgeous soul, with your beautiful heart, and with that deep feeling of worthiness in your cells. That's the conversation.
Yes.
Because so many women I speak to are like, well, I went and did this psychotherapy, or went and did this. I mean, I've got therapist in my program. I've got a psychotherapist in my program. I've got a psychologist in my program. And I'm, so humbled by that, because this is their profession. But they're like, Lucy, I love what I do, but I haven't got what I want right now. And it's because they are so deeply intelligent. They're phenomenal at what they do, but the heart has been locked up.
Yeah. And the key thing Lucy mentioned was feeling, right? Knowing your worth is one thing, or understanding it, intellectually understanding it. But when you're feeling your worth, that's when everything changes. That's
the difference from just knowing you're worthy and feeling it. They're two very different things. So please don't fool yourself by thinking, well, this is going to go into another conversation about vulnerability, so I'll save that. I'll save that. But really, if we come back to the heart of this conversation, thanks, darling. Now back to cooking my bolognese. Men are great in the kitchen. You look sexy in the kitchen. Just not too much cluttering over there. Old bossy pants over here. So I was just going to say, you're very much stuck in the low vibrational consciousness on non-belief, which is, I don't really believe, if I'm honest, that I can have this level of relationship. I feel like I'm being too fussy, or I'm scared that I'm not going to get it right. I'm scared that I'm going to get rejected. So you're not even allowing yourself to let go and dream about the future that you want to create. And this comes back 360 to your question, Sasha. You're like, I'm so terrified of being rejected that I don't even know how to dream. I can't even let myself dream. And you wouldn't believe how common this is on my breakthrough calls. I literally take women into this dream sequence and they're like, I can't imagine, I can't possibly let that in. I can't even fathom what it would be like to have this relationship, because they're so disconnected from the receiving. So I hope this is really resonating with you on some level, because it's really, really important, and you cannot have a soulmate relationship for as long as you're going to be deeply hardwired by this fear of rejection. It just doesn't work, okay? And if you're not dreaming and you're not allowing yourself to be in that beautiful divine creation, which when you do heal your little girl, she's going to help you dream big. When you're a little girl, people ask you, what do you want to do? It's like, I want to go to the moon. She doesn't hold back. But if you're not allowing yourself to dream and actually think about, well, this is how I want to really feel, then you're stagnating. And that's a shitty feeling. It's like, even from an energetic level, that's where disease starts to happen in our body, because of not being happy. It all starts to turn into stagnant energy. This is why we have the heaviness. This is where we slip into depression. This is where we get the migraines and the stomach aches and the earaches and the mystery illnesses, because it's so much repressed hurt and pain and loneliness and suffering. So it's not about going and getting a quick fix. Yes, medication has its place, 100%, but for the most part, this can absolutely be solved by you. Is it going to take something? Yes, it's going to take guts, courage, commitment. That's it. It absolutely is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, yeah, you just do these couple of things and then that's you done. No, it's a deep process. But here's the thing, just close your eyes for a minute and just imagine what it would be like 6 months from now, being in such a different place in your life with this divine soulmate who's going to go through life with you, who's going to be there to catch you when you fall. Just keep your eyes closed and put your hand on your heart and just allow yourself in this moment to have a little dream. What would it be like? Would you be still doing the same profession right now? Or would you be taking up more space in the world? Would you be living on purpose more? Would you be earning more? What are the things that you would be doing? if you allowed yourself to dream and let in this vision. It's very, very important that you take the time to connect with this. Because once you actually do, it's going to get exciting for you, and it's going to give you incentive to say, okay, let me nip this in the bud. Let me go and sort this out, because that's the future that I want to live into. What would it be like to actually wake up next to the love of your life and have this beautiful intimacy and amazing orgasms and just being held, you know, just coming home to someone at the end of the day who's like, how are you? How was your day? Let me cook for you. Let me cuddle you. What do you need? This is what we all crave at a fundamental level. I was certainly starving for that when I was living in New York, like craving that affection, sick of being in a big queen size bed that was like living on a cloud, yet I was on my own. I was like, I've got this beautiful body. I'm in the prime of my life. No one to share it with. Like, what the F? So really, this future is waiting for you to claim it, yeah? So you can live your best life and make the next 30 years so fucking incredible, where you literally skid into the grave, you know, 40, 50 years from now, knowing you lived your best life, and that most importantly, you were loved. You were courageous enough to get out of your own shitty story, out of the rejection paradigm, and into your heart, and living boldly with an open heart. This is the conversation. For as long as you're committed to being fearful of rejection, you are literally saying to the universe, my heart's not open, my light's not on. Keep giving me relationships that don't last. Keep bringing me the emotionally unavailable men. You can't blame the universe. You can't blame anyone. You've got to stop and go, is this what I'm signing up for the rest of my life? Am I really going to risk, you know, being a mother and having children? Is that really what I'm complying with right now? It's a full-on question. Am I really willing to go another 6 months and knowing that my egg quality is not going to get any better with age? Unfortunately, it's not like alcohol. It's not like a bottle of red wine. It gets worse with age, and this is the bottom line. So for those of you, especially that want to be mama bears, but you are minimizing what this is really costing you, I invite you right now to wake up and to start to stand up again and get that fire in your belly and to start to fight for your dream. Because if you're not fighting for you and for your dream, no one else on this planet is going to do it for you. And for as long as you're going to live in this cycle of not enoughness and victimhood and failed relationships, that's not who you really are. That's not what you were put on the planet for. Have you seen who you really are? I don't think so. Because if you really had, you wouldn't be tolerating this for another day. You'd say, not for another day. No fucking way. I'm too good for this shit. So go away and really have an honest conversation with yourself about, you know, what you're actually going to put in place with this. For those of you that are really ready to step up and you know that you need the support, you need an expert, you need someone who's actually going to get you there, then I encourage you to reach out. My assistant Charlotte is on the call right now. You can reach out to her, book in for a free breakthrough call. And no matter what, even if we're not aligned, you're still going to have, you know, you're going to have an amazing breakthrough. So for those of you that haven't watched the masterclass as well, it's pinned to the top of this group. So go and watch that. What, darling? Oh, yeah, because I talk about the little girl in there. But really the essence of this topic about rejection is, for as long as you're going to feed this fear of rejection, if we keep it like you just got two wolves, the good wolf and the bad wolf, you're feeding the bad wolf every day that you're not solving it over here with the good wolf. That's all that's going on. As I said, where the focus goes, the energy grows. And unfortunately, the energy is growing in the wrong direction for as long as you're not actually dealing with your truth. Because the only person in the way of you having the soulmate relationship right now is you. It's not your age. It's not where you live. It's not your childhood. Yes, I mean, it's to do with your childhood, but all of these things can be solved. And the age can't be changed, but there's someone for everyone, no matter how young you are. And I say young, even if you're 45, 50. Absolutely that you can have a soulmate relationship right now.
But why wait that long?
Yeah, exactly. But why wait? So I'm going to love you and leave you and go and help my husband cook some dinner. Please post your comments below and what was resonating with you, and definitely send your any questions that you have. You can email Charlotte, my assistant, Charlotte Barnes. She's amazing. And also I always bring on, I haven't in the last few weeks, but I bring on a special guest. So if you've got a question, we can have a whole session where we just talk back and forth live, which is really, really powerful. and we just really get to the heart of your question. So I hope this has been helpful for you. And please just remember that you don't have to live another day being scared of love. You can't be scared of the thing that you want to attract. You've got to have the courage to face it and then call it in and do whatever it takes until you have this man in your life. Or if it's women, till you have this woman in your life. Whatever rocks your boat. Okay? So tons and tons of love. Mwah!